Thank you for joining me today as I explore the city of Edinburgh, Scotland. I've always wanted to go here because I have my ancestry roots there and I want to see the town that my great grandmother grew up in. So, this is one of my favorite spots and my best spot to go to. The city is very majestic. There's stone everywhere, stone buildings, old buildings. We're going to go talk to some ghosts and we're going to go to the crypts, which is something that I think is exciting that I got to do that the Ghost Adventures had done. So that was definitely something I enjoyed quite a bit. I got to stay in an old castle, which of course is every American's dream come true. I also got to go to a beautiful spot, which we will definitely present in one of the videos. And overall, I had not enough time to explore. I only stuck to the Royal Mile because I didn't have enough time to really adventure off too much farther. One of the things that I really feel that I need to do is go back and go to the Neolithic structures because it's something that's unique and it's something that's really old and very ancient and something that should be preserved for all of humanity to explore. The city of Edinburgh has a lot of World Heritage sites like Edinburgh Castle. The Witchery is another spot to go to because it is got a lot of history. I wasn't able to get in because they were closed for tea time and I wanted to have some tea time. If you're someone who really enjoys history, if you love to listen to stories of the royals murdering each other, great love stories, betrayal, all sorts of historical events were going on inside of the city and still are. So that would be one of the number one reasons why I would tell someone to go out to Edinburgh is to explore those historical locations and to learn more about the history of the city and the people that live there. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the journey that I had, and let's start with Edinburgh Castle. If you are going to go to Edinburgh, I definitely recommend you stop off at Edinburgh Castle. It is a World Heritage Site. Its foundation, the physical foundation of the castle goes back to the Iron Age, but we know that the city had been in use quite longer than that, but this is when we start seeing that this was an area that was important for defense for this location. Inside of the castle, you can't really record a lot because these are more private locations for the royals for when they were living there. So out of respect, we were asked not to record. The crown jewels were there, which was really cool to see. It was very interesting to see the birthing chamber of King James, whose mother was Mary, Queen of Scots. She was a much stronger person in history and much more important to history than I had ever realized. So I'm glad I was able to have my perception change on who she was. This is a place that's full of history, full of stories. I spent hours exploring the different chambers that they had, the artwork that they had, the crown jewels, and a lot of information about the different types of militaries and different types of wars that they had. They also have a cannon that goes off every day, I believe around 1 p.m. When I was there, it was raining pretty bad, so I don't recall hearing anything, and I'm sure I would have heard the chamber going off if I had been there. But I can tell you, you do need to have reservations, and I had about an hour to kill. So I first stopped off at the Witchery, and to my sadness, discovered I could not have my lunch there because they didn't offer the services I wanted during that time. So even though that was something that was really important to me, I did miss out on that opportunity. But I did get to go to Cannonball, which is right at the base of the castle, and I had a wonderful cheese platter, and I really appreciated how A, close it was, B, how affordable it was, C, how good it was, and they even served chips, which were salt vinegar chips, which happens to be a family favorite. I remember sitting there with my grandfather eating them when I was a little kid. I didn't realize that they were Scottish until I went to a bar and had some. So I really appreciated that time that I had. And I appreciated how remarkably preserved the castle was and how much dedication goes into making sure that people are, given the opportunity and the privilege to see all these historical moments. So I really appreciated my time at Edinburgh Castle. When I was at the castle, I had the opportunity to take a little break from all of my explorations, and I finally got my first tea time experience in Scotland, and I was given a delightful little sweet treat in their bakery. And I was lucky to be there at the right time because I guess they don't serve it at all hours of the day like I had assumed. I mean, why not get tea time at any time? But it had some jams on it. It had some pastries. It had some sweet treats. And I had a wide range of different teas that I was able to select from. And I had selected the elderberry tea, which with lemon. And it was absolutely delightful. And I think that's my new favorite tea now. So I did miss out on the witchery, but, I got to have a good experience at the castle, which I definitely appreciated that. One of the things that I would like to mention is there's a lot of stairs. This is a city that is built on a bunch of different hills, and they're connected through a variety of different ways. But as someone who's walking from location A to B, you can get your Google Maps out and you are going to be hiking up and down some stairs. There's some beautiful pathways that you can take that you would never expect in a city, and you could just stand at a crossroads going, any direction I go into is going to be beautiful. I did see some graffiti on some of the walks that I took. I don't mind graffiti, to be honest with you, but I was a little conflicted with how old the city is, and so that was a little hard for me to be like, this is totally okay. But for the most part, the city was really nice. It was really clean. I felt very safe. I was there by myself, and I was just walking around, and there was not a single moment that I had a double thought. So if you don't have anywhere to go and you're going to go by yourself, I definitely recommend Edinburgh. Holyrood House was created in 1128 as a monastery on the opposite side of the Edinburgh Castle on the Royal Mile by David I. It still is a functioning and working palace in royal service. It can host thousands of guests for special events. Charles II added the private royal apartments, which are still used today as the Queen's official apartments while she's in Scotland. And now they're the King's official royal apartments. I have to admit, I actually thought the Royal Mile was a mile-long road from the borders of England to Scotland where the kings would meet. And I have no idea why I thought that was what the Royal Mile was. In fact, when I was starting to prepare for my trip, I was like, can I just walk the mile from London to Edinburgh? Because, I mean, it's only a mile. But apparently I was a little wrong with that concept, because the Royal Mile seems to really connect the Edinburgh Castle to the Holyrood Palace. So, yeah, shame on me for not knowing better. Before I started my tour, I actually stopped in at the little bakery at the palace, and I was able to sit outside and enjoy some of the quiet and look at a little small cottage while I ate some traditional sweets. I would like to say the sweets in Europe are not the same as the sweets in America. The city is very peaceful. I was surprised at how quiet the city was. As you can see in this clip, when I'm outside in the middle of a work week, you can see how peaceful it is. So the palace was under a lot of construction, both inside and outside, and there was repairs over the original monastery ruins that they were in the process of working on. So I wasn't able to get a lot of video or photos on the inside, much like the castle. The palace had a tremendous amount of education that they had provided. One of the things that I came upon was a display about the royal symbols and their coat of arms. And I thought it was really amazing that the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland and the flower is the thistle. So I thought that was pretty interesting to learn. I also learned that there is a theory, a historian, I think it was in the 1440s, traced the Scottish lineage back to Scotta, who was the daughter of a pharaoh, claiming that the Scottish people are actually descendants of the Egyptians. The castle I stayed in was actually the Ramsay Castle from the Ramsay clan, and I thought that was a little bit of an interesting connection. The other thing at the palace was the private chambers of Mary Queen of Scots, and the location that her husband had murdered her secretary. Very close to the palace was New Carlton Burial Ground, which I do have my great-grandmother's burial site there. I was able to confirm that through my ancestry DNA, and I actually was able to get in contact with some of the other family members as well. So that was really exciting. It was actually a little emotional going out there and seeing that site. The burial grounds is, there's a lot of very famous people there, a lot of knights, a lot of architects. There's a lot. So if you're into visiting burial grounds, then I would recommend this location. They also had a really cool watchtower there, which was designed to stop people from kidnapping or stealing dead bodies, actual body snatchers, which was something I was able to learn about on my ghost adventure that I had in the underground vaults. So Yeah, it was apparently a very serious issue that they were facing, and I think it was the mid or late 1800s out there. So, this tower was designed so that way family members could pay to have people watch over their deceased loved ones as they were being laid to rest. My family is out there, and it was a very nice experience to go out there and connect with them. After the castle, I didn't really have very many plans, so I was just wandering around, and I found myself in a tour group that I did not belong in because I just happened to end up meandering into the situation. I just snuck myself onto a door and I don't know where I am, but it looks fun. And I talked to the leader of the group, and I got the information that it was a ghost tour group, and I could go underneath in the vaults, and I signed up for it. I had I think about 2 hours to kill before my tour actually started. So I went and I grabbed some food at a local pub. The pub was called Copper Stills, and I purchased fish and chips, of course, with vinegar, of course. And it was pretty good. And I just waited until the tour started. On the tour, we walked around the city and we were let into the underground vaults where we got to learn about some of the famous body snatchers, and we got to go into the specific vaults which appeared on Ghost Adventures, and it was really scary. The first one we went through, actually it was the second one. We first stopped in a little chamber area and we had a little conversation. And the second place that we stopped into, which of course we could not have any cameras on again, it was pitch black because there was no natural lights, because these are not technically underground vaults, but underground vaults. I guess it's a little complicated on how that actually works out. But the overall experience was very scary. I felt claustrophobic in that dark, felt panicky. I don't even know what we were talking about. I just kept going, I don't want to be the person who leaves. Some people did actually leave, and they were freaked out and they didn't want to turn off their lights. So they were asked if they wanted the opportunity to step out and wait for us to finish, and they took it. So at one point, I think it was in the second vault, we had, all the lights off, and the tour guide turned on her torch to tell a story, and she was like, come and stand near the circle and gather around. And I felt, I'm not lying, I felt this woman who was actually, I think, a little bit taller than me. She came up and she was kind of standing close to me. I was like, okay, personal space, bubbles. I know this is a tight vault area, but still need some space. So I was like, I turned to her, I was like, do you want to come in? And I figured, this person just wanted to stand really close to the circle. Except there was nobody actually there. So, okay, that was my ghost story. Didn't feel scared. I just thought it was a person. I don't know. Maybe Zach Bagans will call me and be like, yo, come on. Probably not. He's not calling me anytime soon. But, hey, why not? Think about it. After we got out of the underground vaults, we hiked over to Greyfriars Kirkyard, which is considered to be one of the world's scariest cemeteries, there is a section in there that has a lot of poltergeist activity. So we got 10 minutes in that section, and I can tell you nothing exciting or fun had happened. Which is probably a good thing. Who really wants to go play with ghosts? That's probably not a smart thing. So, yeah, it was cool listening to some of the stories that they had out there. Some pretty famous stories, like the dog that stayed over its owner's grave. That was a pretty big story out there. You'll definitely have to go and hear the truth for yourself. There was also the mausoleum of the most haunted or most poltergeist person out there. So it was a lot of fun. I got to see the Flodden Wall. So part of what was happening is it was illegal to live outside of the Flodden Wall because of the defense system, of the castle. If you lived outside of the wall, you were at risk and you were exposed to any sort of attacks that could occur, and you wouldn't be able to get inside the castle in time. So this is how people ended up living underneath the vaults, because there was no space or access for them to live anywhere else. So part of that wall still exists today, and it was in that cemetery, so we got to see that. After the cemetery, I had the ability to just do some night photography and explore the city. It was Halloween, so everyone was dressed up. A lot of cowboys and cowgirls. I thought that was very interesting because they seemed to be, everyone that was dressed up was like a cowgirl or a cowboy. And, but the city was quiet. I can't get over how peaceful the city was. Hardly any honking. I didn't hear loud music once. I didn't hear bass. I didn't hear yelling. I didn't hear commotion. It was like there was a hum, and it almost sounded like there was a river nearby. But that was the extent of it. You'd hear people, maybe chit-chattering, but kind of quiet. Chances are I was the loudest person out there, but it was very nice to have that experience out there. And this wraps up my Scotland experience, because the rest of my time I spent there, I spent in the oldest inhabited castle from the Ramsay clan, and I enjoyed their spa out there. So that's going to be the next video that I make. And it was worth the travel. It was worth the time. It was worth being there for every single second. And I cannot wait to go back to Scotland, because I really fell madly in love with it. So I look forward to going back. I don't think we can leave Scotland without discussing Harry Potter and all of the greatness that has happened in Edinburgh with it being written there. I understand some of the names from the graves are actually it appear in the book, but the Elephant House where some of that was written has been burnt down, and currently there is no dates for when it's going to be rebuilt and opened. So I did get to go there. I did get to see it, but I wasn't able to go in. But still, what a treat to have such a great big cultural movement written in your town. So yeah, just wanted to add that in. Bye.